Ah, kia ora mai tātou. Hello there, New Zealand. Glad you could drop by. Well, for today's Down in the Lockdown interactive video meditation, we'll be doing a compassion meditation. I'll make this video and upload it shortly, but for now I'll just do an introduction and explanation to it. The reason being that the meditation and the explanation themselves are both quite long, so it seemed to make sense to chop them up into small pieces and feed them to you bit by bit. Anyway, I've talked a bit about compassion over the last few meditations, so now we'll take a slightly closer look at it. The place of compassion in Buddhism is a tricky thing to get across in a few minutes, and I'm only a lay practitioner in any event. In Buddhism, so much is so interconnected and overlapping that breaking the philosophy into little sections like this doesn't really capture a meta picture of it anyway. But here's my attempt at Compassion 101. First off, when we conjure up an image of compassion, we probably have some misconceptions. Compassion doesn't mean feeling sorry for someone. It's also not simply accepting any kind of behaviour. Compassion is more of an unattached love for everyone, in the sense that you genuinely want everyone to be a certain way. For example, happy, healthy, safe, peaceful, wise. But part of it is that it's not your role to live anyone else's life for them. So once you've done what you can for someone, once you've been part of their life in a certain way, there's no value to being attached to their outcome. A key aim in Buddhism is to develop this unconditional but non-interfering love for all sentient life, not just people. The reason that the bit about being for all sentient life is one reason that monks are usually vegetarian. Anyway, it's also very key that love and compassion are not attachment, so you let go of other people's journeys. Relatedly, it's very important to start with introspection. That is, developing your own spiritual health and stability. It's completely counterproductive to try to fix other people. I mean, I know it's a fucking cliche, but the person you're responsible for is yourself. And if you're not looking to your own spiritual health and self-compassion, there's nowhere to extend your compassion from. So Buddhist compassion, in my interpretation of it, and in the particular stream that I follow, compassion is more like empathy. This is explicitly in the meditations that we do, observing your own suffering and other experiences, and then understanding that other beings and other creatures want just the same things that you do. They want life, they want happiness, they want peace, they want safety, and they want meaning, and they want fulfillment. Of course, for any one of those things on this list, we may not want any of that particular thing at any one time. We may not want life. That's a theme in Buddhism in itself. We may not want, we may not have no particular desire for, no strong pull towards fulfillment. From a Buddhist point of view, we should be living meaningfully. But this list is just an example. But we're observing it our own life, observing ourselves, and then realizing that all creatures want the same things that we want, and that's the basis for empathy. Observing yourself allows you to expand your love and compassion to others. But compassion isn't narcissism either, of course. It's not self-love, or jealousy, or hedonism. It's a deliberately cultivated love for all beings, which includes yourself. Now, at this point, it's important to note that meditating simply to make yourself feel good is not useful. This works against the outward moving compassion that you're trying to cultivate. The thing that seems catch-22 but on examination really isn't catch-22, is that to find your own peace and happiness, you need to be focused on compassion for all other beings despite any apparent harm that it brings to you. It's only when compassion for other beings is the genuine end goal that you can eventually reach your own liberation from suffering. But if looking to your own happiness, for example, if simply elevating your own mood is the goal, then the irony is that meditation is not likely to have a helpful long-term effect. In fact, it can even be harmful, karmically, and even just in effects day-to-day, if you're not looking to extend your compassion to other beings. If you're looking to simply elevate your own mood or find a short-term happiness, it's not a productive meditation. The difference between these things can be subtle. Learning to experience and transcend suffering and illness, your own suffering and illness, is a productive motivation, as is learning to be content and to cultivate gratitude. But finding a natural high is not a productive motivation. Therefore, the compassion meditation that we're going to do and that we're going to look at in the next video is very important, but it's not a primary meditation. If you do it regularly, it's best to combine it with an essential breathing meditation or a walking meditation or something else that's grounding. So let's move on to an exegesis of the meditation itself. So as we do this meditation, we bring to mind someone or something for which we feel, or for which or for whom we feel a natural sense of love, and for whom we naturally have a lot of good and positive feelings about. We naturally want them to be happy, to be safe, to be healthy, those kinds of things. Someone it's easy to feel compassion for. Then we allow this feeling to grow, for this energy to grow, and we slowly let ourselves feel this love for people whom we find increasingly difficult. Now, we only need to operate within our own limits for this. If there are people that you feel such strong aversion for that meditating on them damages the love you generate, just use somebody else for the meditation. Like all meditations, the effects are slow burning and cumulative, and you can push yourself further the more you do it and the stronger that you get at it. There's no point in meditating beyond your limits. Also, as we do the meditation, and as we bring to mind more difficult and troublesome people, remember that they're acting out of their own karmic conditions and causes that they were born with. We are all born with different levels of enlightenment and ability, and these change as we develop ourselves or as we don't develop ourselves across our lifetime. And when we're born, it's based on the karma that's been previously generated. All of us are also following our own path and our own journey, purifying or generating negative karma as we go. The karma that causes suffering is always going to ripen somewhere, sometime, unpredictably, and it can be seen as a blessing that it happens in the human realm, in this lifetime, where we have the consciousness most suitable to be able to navigate it and change our conditions. If it ripens in a hell realm, it will be much worse. If it ripens as a non-human form, we don't necessarily have the consciousness or the right kind of consciousness to be able to respond and change ourselves to break past this cycle, which is why it's often said that the human realm and not some other spiritual realms actually give us the highest chance for enlightenment. And it's important that we try and be reborn into the human realm if possible. So I hope this was useful and not too confusing or too erroneous. As I say, I'm only a lay practitioner, and everything I say is very much open to debate, to critique, to questioning, and it's a Buddhist maxim that you don't just accept things because your teachers say them or because somebody who seems to be Buddhist says them, or even because the Buddha himself said it. Everything should be reflected on and critiqued and examined until you yourself realize it as truth or reject it. It's fine to reject. So I hope this was useful. And to practice the compassion we've just been talking about, follow along in my next video.